Hey, 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 hey. What's up, good people? It's your girl KB. You know what I do and you know why I do it. It is 3:52. It is Friday morning and it is June 26th. Let me talk a quick minute about the Supreme Court ruling yesterday. I'm appalled. I am appalled. You know, the pace has quickened for Project 2025. Let's not forget that. Let's not forget the plan, or should I say the master plan. You know, we have become so used to abusive people, racism, silliness, that we have these trauma responses. You know, we have this quick flash of anger, and rightfully so. And then we go back to business as usual because we've normalized this BS. And it is bullshit. I'm sorry, it is. I have no other words that could adequately describe what continues to flow, or should I say be pumped, from the Capitol. And I use the word pumped because that's what we do to sewage. Imagine being so, I want to say, afraid to face your bullshit. And I'm talking to, you know, the history of this country, the European history of this country, the Eurocentric history of this country. Imagine being so afraid of your bullshit and your abuse that you can't be held accountable. It's constant projection. Excuse me. It's constant projection and externalizing. And now we're engaged in redacting or in rewriting historical facts, proven facts. And that's why every African American, every black person needs to educate themselves on the history of their people. You know, the attempted genocide of our people started 400 years ago, or over 400 years ago, when we were taken from our countries. Now, I've learned through DNA that my African ancestry is Nigerian. I've learned that. Now, I most likely will not be embraced by Nigerians, but I can identify my lineage. I am Afro, indigenous, and the European blood, because yes, there is European blood, is Scotch-Irish. It took me a minute to figure out what part of the Irish ancestry. Scotch-Irish. All marginalized folks. Although in this country, the Irish have been embraced after a number of years of rejection, you know, the Irish have now become white. And, you know, just knowing that the system, the matrix, if you will, has set out to disqualify me on every front, discredit my personage at every opportunity. I'm black. That's how I identify. I'm black. I'm female. So I'm automatically a threat. And I'm part of the LGBTQ community. Oh my God. The world must stop rotating on its axis. Imagine being marginalized on so many fronts, or talked down to on so many levels by good liberal folk who understand, but are as condescending as hell, like you don't know. Yeah. They're so understanding that they don't understand. They're so understanding that they give their microaggressions a pass. They're so understanding that they can't see the racism in their speech. That part. And because they're so understanding, I want you to hear this. They can't hear, see, or pick up on, I want to say, their own characterizations and stereotypes in their conversation with others. I had a good liberal tell me a few conversations back. So I don't know how to phrase this, but you know, I see a lot of violence in black communities. First question: how much time you spend in black communities? I need to know that. Or, you know, I had a conversation with a friend yesterday, as a matter of fact, who is black, who was just irritated by their encounter with a self-loathing black woman. And how this particular individual has never watched like any kind of a black forward character or television show. And they stated basically, I'm not watching that mess. And my response was, I probably wouldn't watch that mess either, because most of the things that we characterize as black television or black entertainment is created in the minds of white folks. And I use the example of Good Times. Now, the majority of the family was a pretty accurate description of the struggle. Not as intense as, so I grew up in the hood. I know that story. You know, there's different variations of that story, but the struggle is real. Okay? So that show was pretty even killed. But then we had the one buffoon, the comic relief, Mr. Dynamite. You know, that, yeah, I want to say two of the characters quit the show because of that buffoonery. And I understand why. I didn't early on, but I understand, you know, as an adult, yeah, that's ridiculous. And I don't know any individual in my history of Negrodom that said jive turkey. But you hear it a lot from the older shows. And it's socially acceptable. You know, we decry blackface, but we don't look at the silliness that we still embrace. Think about what I just said.